All right, hey guys, what's going on? Chris Fluck here. This is the Chris Fluck Podcast, episode 11. Today we got an old friend here, special guest Kevin Branco. Now, we were just kind of talking. So Kevin owns a small business here in Hellertown, Main Street Gym. Since we're both in the fitness career, we were just kind of joking about how often we been calling each other with these random ideas, different schemes to try to make things work out in this line of work. But, before we get into some of that stuff here, just want to kind of introduce Kevin, get into those early days. We grew up in the same town. You were Saucon Valley all the way through, right?
All the way through.
So, pretty much since we were little, same school, played some of the same sports. So just want to kind of dive into that, maybe your background as growing up and all that, and good old Hellertown, and go from there. All right, man.
So as Chris said, we grew up together. We've been playing football together since, 8th grade, 7th grade, when I first started. Always in the same circle of friends all through high school. Just doing different sports, football, pickup basketball, at a friend's farm, stuff like that.
I miss those games.
How about it? I was just talking to Mr. H the other day.
I'll probably tear an Achilles tendon right now. That's my concern.
But yeah, we just kind of real athletic. We always kind of stayed in sports. Kind of separated from each other for college for a while, then all of a sudden, lo and behold, here we are.
Circling back.
But back in the same industry.
But even just going with sports stuff, we had basketball, track and field, and then football, sorry.
Yep.
Football, middle school on up. Track, we played in that. Basketball. But anyway, so you ended up taking the football route when you went to college, right? So you went to Kutztown.
So one of our coaches, actually, it was Coach Krumzak, said to me, he goes, listen, because I was trying to figure out which sport I wanted to do in college.
Yeah.
Right, and he said to me, listen, once they take your pads, they don't give them back. You can play pickup basketball games. You can get in an AAU track league, stuff like that. He goes, once you stop playing football, you never start playing that same sport again.
Yep.
It's always touch football or 7-on-7 or throwing the ball around. So I decided, put your eggs in that basket and go that way for college.
Now that was at Kutztown University. They're on the rise again.
Yep.
I don't know if this coordinator's still there, but I saw their offensive coordinator. He was at South Carolina at the time, GM Mangus, and so I saw him speak a couple years ago. I saw him speak twice actually at these football coaching conference. Pretty impressive guy. Got himself in a little trouble when he ended up at Kutztown. But anyway, we had a lot of guys that I coached at Salk and ended up going there, and so I'm just happy they're seeing some success. Some of them are playing, some of them aren't anymore. But so it's good to see them. How was the program when you were at school?
It was, when I first went there, it was, tell you the truth, it was in shambles. I don't know how they talked me into going there.
Where else were you looking?
Pretty much all the PSAC schools.
Yeah.
I was offered scholarships from Bloom, Ship, East Stroudsburg, IUP, Westchester.
So, at the time, Shippensburg had Kuhn.
Yep.
They had an NFL player. Bloomsburg had...
Two. They had, what's his name? Brent Grimes, too.
Oh, yeah, the corner.
Yep.
Bloom had, the one guy they had won the he took second maybe. Because he had a huge guy, quarterback one, I think.
Yep.
But anyway, these are, and Bloom, my roommates in college were playing them, and they were in the semifinals while we were in college.
Yep.
Shippensburg was probably winning the PSAC early.
Shippensburg and Bloom were winning the PSAC every year. East Stroudsburg was running their heels. Kutztown was lower end of that.
Yeah.
They were just below 500 team.
Who's coaching?
Coach Keeney, Dave Keeney at the time.
So
he was there forever. Yeah. I love my recruiting coach. Kind of got blindsided by that. Coach Keeney was a good coach for a few years, but he was starting to tail off.
Yeah.
He ended up getting fired my sophomore year, and they brought Coach Raymond Monica in, who was the defense coordinator for Temple.
Oh, cool.
Right, this guy down south, southern Bayou, right, big teeth, had a long southern drawl, and man, he was a piece of work.
Same coaching style as the previous guy, or
no, completely different. This guy was quarterback in college. I don't know where he played, but because that he could just set up a defense like no other. The schemes that we were running, like as a defensive end, I was dropping into coverage more times than I was rushing.
Yeah.
Getting backs out, stuff like that.
Well, that's kind of the fun stuff. That probably fit your skill set pretty good. Yeah.
I don't like my hand out of the dirt though. I like moving forward when I'm out in space.
Yeah, it's true, man. So I mean, what were you studying at the time too? I could sound then playing sports, playing football.
So while I was there, we did. I had a working on a degree in political science, minor in speech communication. I redshirted that my freshman year.
Yeah.
So I ended up having an extra year of football eligibility at the end. So what I ended up doing is just taking another degree.
Oh, cool.
And finished out with public administration also.
Public administration. So with this political science, public administration, what was the grand scheme? He was just telling us, we were talking to Fiegel here behind the camera, always have that end goal in mind whenever you're trying to create a path. So as a 22-year-old or whatever you were when you graduated, what were you thinking, man? Political science and...
So right when I graduated, at the time it was 2009 because that redshirt year.
Yeah.
The economy was in shambles. Man, there was no jobs to be had anywhere. So I was fortunate enough to land a fellowship at the State House of Representatives. I worked in the State House for 6 months, I think it was, which was a great learning experience. It's pretty frustrating at the end because they had a freeze on hiring. So you talk to someone that could potentially be your next boss, and they say, "Man, I love what you're doing. I love your mindset, but we can't hire you." So, well, how the heck am I going to pay these student loans back now?
Yeah, so they could just BS you too, and they knew they can't hire, so they always had that in their back pocket. That's rough.
So then I got out of that. I was applying in lobbyist firms and stuff like that. Once that fellowship ran out, and I ended up coming back home, just to save money, live with the parents. Walked into Main Street Gym one day, talked to the owner, Dano, who I've known forever. And I said, "Hey, man, I just want to make a few bucks to make ends meet until I find a job." So you start tomorrow, and I had my very first training client the next morning.
Yeah.
No idea what I was doing.
They were one lucky client.
Yeah,
there.
I still train them. Them 2 times a week to this day.
Yeah, but even backtracking a little bit too, like remember, Kevin probably worked, he was in political science, whatever, in college, but he was always super into it. When we were in high school, remember we had that one class, human performance, and basically we had to set a goal, and some of us were like, just stupid stuff, but Kevin was always in there. I think we had it first thing in the morning almost, I think it was an early morning class. Basically, it was a high school class. You set a goal, and then you create your own program to try to accomplish that goal, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if they still offer that, but
I think they do.
They should.
Same guy teaches it.
Cool. But Kevin was always in there, probably out. Well, I mean, we were probably dicking around, playing basketball and stuff, and Kevin's banging hang cleans and deadlifts or whatever your plan was at the time. But so he was always a hard work, and then getting, you're going into a college strength and conditioning program. I'm sure the transition, it's not always easy working with people, but, getting into being a personal trainer, all the stuff that you learn in high school and college is probably better than any kind of quick certification that you could have picked up too, right? I mean,
I look at, I have a few certifications. I'm working on actually a CSCS now, but everything that I learn is just helping out what I know already just from years of being in it. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be an expert or something.
Yeah.
I'm well past that, and you're still learning. You just got to keep up with the new stuff. We were actually just talking before we started recording about how the fitness industry has gone from the old school styles that I'm familiar with, that I still preach, the ones that have worked forever, to new age style, like the West Coast or West Side barbell style.
Where that's he's been at it for a while though too. In the same, because he was super. I think he was kind of an innovator with it. So
and those things now, those things are really taking hold. And I look at guys setting up their bench, and they have 10 different bands and chains and different wraps and stuff like that. It works, man. These people are strong. They're strong as heck. It's just not my style. I like the good old fashioned push as hard as you can and get your reps in.
So we're transitioning then right now. We're making a pivot. So anyway, with that stuff though, what you were saying with the West Side guys, and even I always kind of talked about it. I think I talked in the last podcast. Let's say so that's more geared towards powerlifting. Say where those guys are trained professionals basically in that sport. If you want to consider it a sport, we'll call it a sport for today.
It's a sport.
It's a sport for sure. So those guys are trained. They're like professional athletes, and they've had potentially decades of training. Whereas, say this 21-year-old kid that just wants to get strong, hasn't really put in, the 10,000 hours you mentioned on the deadlift, but then wants to do this advanced deadlifting program, he's not going to get these same he's not going to get the same benefit as that guy that guy needs these tools. Mm-hmm. The guy that put in the hours, he needs those tools just to get this much progress, right. Whereas the inexperienced guy, he could probably just practice with the bar and try to master the barbell, and then to get yourself to a certain point, where your strength is getting to a certain point, take it to the next level. You might need the bands, the chains, and 2 days a week of deadlifting, whatever. So
absolutely, it's definitely diminishing marginal returns. You see it all the time. You got a new client coming in, they can barely pick up the bar. All of a sudden, in 2 weeks, they're deadlifting 135. Yeah. 2 months, they're deadlifting 315. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, it starts to slow out. You see it all the time. But eventually, you got to switch something up, and that's where those West Side guys come in.
Yeah, they're at that point. They're already trained killers basically in those lifts, and they're changing lifts. I feel like every 3 weeks maybe. So a regular conventional deadlift becomes a sumo deadlift or whatever. They'll do some. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's and that guy's he built that whole system off of, I think, what like Russians and Soviets were doing, in the 70s, where he brought this dynamic effort stuff over to America. And I don't think the Americans were doing that before. But no, so like I was saying though too, that can be like, that's not like it just came around either, because the West Side's been going at it too for a bit. Yeah. But now it's just I think it's just more mainstream.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And you're going to see it more in like these commercial. You might see a guy down the road here at a commercial gym, coming in with bands and stuff, getting after, but he's still weak, I guess. Right. These guys are benching, 600, 700 pounds, whereas a guy down the road might only be doing 205. So it's
right.
I don't know. It's always weird. It's like I'd try to get
master the basics before.
I think exactly. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that's exactly probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Just get the fundamentals down. Who needs all the fancy gadgets? Now, talking about just the training in general, so you're in Philadelphia next week, is that what?
Yep, Philadelphia Classic.
Philadelphia Classic, you're going in the physique, right? Mm-hmm. So bodybuilding, we're going to dive into this a little bit. Previous guests, we've kind of touched on, Frank Donnelly, me and him kind of have we work with similar clientele, and in a sense, we're just trying to boost performance in one thing, not as much aesthetic stuff going on. They're not really being judged on how they look. It's more about how they perform in a given task. Whereas today, I think we're going to kind of focus on that side of the training too, because you've had the sports training. Yep. You've done what did you weigh in high school, say, as a senior?
175, 180.
So Kevin was 6'4"? 4? 6'4", 170 maybe, 175, and that was working super hard. So think about when you were a freshman, even 140 pounds, 6'4", pretty thin dude, worked his butt off, put some weight on. College, what'd you get to?
225.
Right.
220. Yeah.
Is any of that? And then now, you're kind of competition season. So. Yeah,
when I'm not competing, like December before I start my cut, it's 240. I try and hang around between 230, 240. I'd like to get up to 250 one day, but it's not easy for me to put on the mass.
You're not one of those people that like, I wish I had the body that I had in high school guy.
No way.
So anyway, the point of that was just being that, he was whatever kind of results that he has is like pretty much through hard work, just based off of his body type. Growing up, he was just always taller than everybody, and you're a thin guy. And then you got into college. You worked your butt off in high school, and then you went to college and continued to put on some mass. But then now we're at a point now, that frame, good or bad, in what you're doing?
It's
6'4" guy.
It's great, actually. It's kind of frustrating at one end of things because, me and you could do the same exact routine and same exact meal plan and everything. And after 6 weeks, you'll add, an inch to your bicep, and I might add a quarter inch just because my limbs are longer. Mm-hmm. But moving forward, now that I'm, early 30s, about to turn 34,
Dang.
Now it's, how about it? Okay, call it ARP. Now that we're moving forward, though, like all those years of small building has helped.
Yeah.
Now standing on stage, I'm standing next to a guy smaller than me, right? And I can tower over him. And now finally I have the width to compete. So like you said, I'm competing this coming week. So I'm at my lightest I've been since my last show. Today at 197.
Body weight percentage, don't have to be super specific, just general terms. When you started at 240 to, you said you're at 197?
Yeah.
That's,
So-
40, a little bit over 40 pound
Yep.
difference. So what is that fluctuation in the body fat percent?
Body fat, when I was 240, I was probably close to 20%, close to it, just taking an eyeball here.
Yeah.
Right now, this morning, I'm close to about 3.5.
So what is that? That's the goal probably, right?
Yeah,
You're
just-
probably not going to get too much underneath that.
What'll happen is this week we'll just cut water. Right now I'm not going to lose any more weight. So this week I'll start doing water loads. So it's starting tomorrow will be 3 gallons of water a day distilled, and then work through it. And then by the end of the week I'll be down to 10 ounces in a day, and you just dehydrate down. So
Yep, super.
yeah, you remember that from
Super
wrestling
healthy.
days.
But now I'm taking this back now because we didn't even talk about. We talked about 240, right? So when did you start? When did the preparation start? So the show's next week. How many weeks out do you start?
12.
12 weeks out. So certain checkpoints throughout the process there.
Yeah. So
Well, actually, no. Sorry, just to interrupt. What is the plan right off the bat? Is there some sort of accumulation phase where you want to try to do a bunch of reps, like, more muscle growth stuff, or what's the?
So when you start to decide to do a show, right, you want to start at least a year out. Start just work your butt off. Just try and get bigger. I'm a big fan of doing some big powerlifting movements, just trying to really enhance those larger muscle bodies. So, you're doing your heavy squats, your heavy deadlifts, your heavy bench.
And this is you're saying a year out when you make this decision.
This is like last spring.
Right.
You start doing those, then doing classic stuff like 5 sets of 5, stuff like that, really adding some mass. And then you start mixing. So say you start your shoulder routine with some heavy push press, right? 5 sets of 5, then go into like Arnold's sets of like 15 superset with lat raises. Just to flood those muscles with as much nutrients and blood as physically possible. And then at the same time, you're eating anything in your path.
So 1 year out, you gained weight.
No,
You went from 220 to like 2. Is that what you said? 220 to. So you're looking to bulk up basically.
Yeah.
A year out.
Mm-hmm.
6 months out. What are we looking at?
6 months out, then you're starting to look at it and say, okay, pretty much if I put on any more weight now, it's just gonna be fat. 6 months out. So you want to kind of, wherever you got to, try and hold that weight. So cut out the second cheese pizza of the day, cut out the second burger, taper back on the beer.
Taper, not give it up though. Taper.
No, taper back. You'll have to get that up eventually. Taper back, and then you keep doing those same motions.
But you're hammering those big lifts still.
Yeah.
Are you
still.
you talked about staying in the. We talked about the variation, say with the West Side barbell. What they do. So if you're hammering deadlifts, are you staying with the same old straight up conventional deadlift for 6 months, and that's that? You're not
just
doing any sumo deadlift, and you're not going back squat to front squat to anything?
No. What I typically do in my personal workouts is I always, like for legs, you mentioned squats, I'll start off with back squat, go heavy, and then I'll switch over to, like halfway through the workout, I'll switch over to front squat.
Same session, you said?
Yep. Do say sets of like 8 to 10 and superset them with like leg extensions. I'm big on supersets, keeping things moving quick.
Did I miss anything? I went from 12 months to 6 months.
Yep.
9 month mark, same stuff, right?
Yep.
You're still trying to hammer the big lifts,
Yeah.
some strength stuff, but then also some volume stuff with.
Yeah, it's a long game. It just keeps going on.
And then when we get closer now, we're getting to that 12-week point, 3 months out.
Yep.
What do we got here?
So 12 weeks out, that's when you're going to start switching up your workouts slightly.
Do you have a coach?
Yeah.
Is this when you
Yep.
Is this when you start then with them?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Call up my coach, say, listen, this show that we're looking forward to. He puts together a plan for me. And he and I are tight with these things, Our training styles are very similar. Met this guy, it was my very first show we met. We met backstage. It was his first show.
Nice.
He got a coach right afterwards. I kept trying to do it myself. He's now a pro. I'm not a pro.
So that's why he's the coach?
Yes, that's why he's the coach.
Is he a local guy?
Yeah. He's lives in Macungie, actually. Lehigh Valley guy, works out in Allentown.
Give him a shout, man. What's up?
His name's Rich Seymour.
Hi, Rich.
Check him out, abfitofficial.com.
Might have to get him on. What do you think?
FITT. Dude is insane.
Right.
He'll drop some knowledge on you that you never even thought you
Good.
didn't know.
Abfit.com?
Yep.
Boom. All right, Rich, be on the lookout, brother.
Yeah, he's the nicest guy you've ever met in your entire life. He's the most driven. Like, he's always bouncing from thing to thing, flying all over the country for his real job. Plus, he does the coaching. He's had over 5,000 clients, both competitors and like lifestyle clients.
Nice, man.
But yeah, I get on the phone with him and we just say, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're going to do. Set out a game plan with what show we're going to do and what our goals are for the show. And then we kind of move forward with that. He sets up a diet plan for me. The diet plan is pretty simple, to tell you the truth. It's especially 12 weeks. It's just tighten things down. You're getting rid of the beer. You're getting rid of the garbage.
You tracking any specific stuff, or is it very vague and you just kind of trust your judgment on?
Tracking
you don't need
everything.
to know. So you're tracking like to the whatever micro, macro,
Macros.
calorie, everything.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
All right.
He gets into the micros. I can't get my head around the macros. I track all the macros.
So how does he break it down then? I mean, is it like 10 to 12 weeks out, it's a certain thing, or is it just like for the next 12 weeks, here's your numbers, hit them, and you're going to be all right?
So he goes and he sets, every month he sends me a document that has all my workouts and all my diet plan, all laid out right in it. It says weeks 1 and 2, eat this, up to usually 7-8 meals a day.
Calorie total? Big number or no?
It is a big number for me.
Yeah.
I have a fast metabolism, so especially at the beginning, I'm taking in over 4,000 calories, and then tapering it back from there.
What do you think you were at like what do you think you take in a year, like that 12 months out part? More than 4,000?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, easy. Keep in mind, like he was
6'4", 240, and he's always been a pretty lean guy. So
Yeah.
I mean, his metabolism is probably cooking, and you work out super hard.
every day. Yeah,
Right. For probably over an hour.
depending on training schedule.
Right.
Try to get over an hour. Usually,
So
it's
he's working out hard, and he's a tall guy. So keep that in mind too.
Yeah.
When we start throwing around 4,000,
Yeah.
6,000 calories, right?
like there was a time period there that I loved it that Papa John's had $5 pies because I was getting at least one a day on top of my meals.
It's a lot. Yeah. Well, I don't know if everybody can get away with that one. So if you guys say I'm going to eat Papa John's, just remember because
Yeah.
Kevin
I
told
threw
you.
it out there.
All right. So every month, I mean, Rich, your coach is hitting you up with everything. So we're
Yep.
talking, 10, 12,
12 weeks.
12 weeks out, 10 weeks out, 8 weeks, whatever. Now we're getting down to the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 weeks out.
Yep.
What are the roles some of these things play? We were talking about a book I was just reading, West Coast bodybuilding scene.
Mm-hmm.
This was talking about the classic guys a little bit, like as Schwarzenegger was growing up. They touch on any kind of eating strategy imaginable. Some guys were doing 4-day fast prior to competition. Some guys, one guy's like, I'm high protein, high fat. I feel like fat gives us a function that we need. He just didn't even know what it was at the time, but he knew that he just felt good and trained right when he was eating high protein, high fat. A lot of these guys, they weren't like Vince Garanda had this gym, Vince's gym. I think Schwarzenegger might have trained there to begin with, had a bunch of the big guys back in the day. And he was like carbs are the devil, basically, type thing. And I mean, how does that stuff play a role in what you're doing then?
So that's why Rich and I get along really well. He believes in just overall good nutrition. Same thing I do. Like when I'm talking to my clients, I say, listen, get rid of the whole intermittent fasting bit. Get rid of all the keto stuff and all that, and just do straight, just normal, good, healthy dieting, and just move forward so you have perfect proportions of all your macros. Me personally, what I react best to is 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat. That's why what I personally respond best from.
Did that take some trial and error?
Yeah.
Like working with Rich? Yeah.
That I
Was that a little bit, you kind of figured that one out?
Yeah, I figured that out on my own even before I started working with Rich. And then he takes it, and I just kind of say, tell me what to do, man. And he lays it out for me. This time, we took a little bit different method, and we went into keto for a full month. We were just about carbless. That was terrible.
Why'd you do that?
It was absolutely horrible.
So where was that then?
So
in
that
the program,
that
like
was
in the 12 weeks.
That was month number 2. So that was weeks
11 months out roughly, or 10 months out roughly?
No.
Sorry, 10 weeks out.
10 weeks. Yeah,
10 or 11 weeks out.
10 down to say 8-7 weeks, something like that.
What was the reason? Do you know?
Just
for that at the time,
to shed out some body weight.
How much did you lose then?
Tell you the truth, I didn't lose a whole lot.
Body fat come down or anything?
My body fat came down a bit.
You're still getting your calories though, so it might have been hard to lose weight.
The overall weight didn't drop very much.
Yeah.
Then we started, after that, we went back into just normal basic macros, right? And he lays out, eat third cup of oatmeal in the morning with a protein shake, a lot of egg whites. I drink probably 2 cartons of egg whites a week.
Is that just to keep the calories low? Like why the yolk? Just because the fat content is going to get you out of your 40-40-20?
Yep, exactly. And then that would be breakfast. Then 3 hours later, I'm eating a white fish, asparagus, and some rice.
Dude, the white fish is king, huh?
Oh my God.
I remember I worked with some dudes in the past, and they're getting ready for a show, and it's just white fish and like broccoli.
Yeah.
That's it for like weeks.
So
I'm like, Jesus, man.
Now I've been doing that for the past like 3 weeks.
How do you cook the white fish?
I just
any
made
oil
5 pounds of it before I left the house.
Like any oil?
No. You take a big piece of tinfoil. All right. Lay out your fish. Season the heck out of it with Mrs. Dash because it has no sodium. Right. Fold it all up so it looks like a big football. Throw in the oven 400 for like 25 minutes.
That's it.
All
right.
And
God forbid you use some oil, right?
No.
Too many calories.
No
too many calories in that shit.
No oil, no butter, nothing. Your rice and vegetables are just steamed. Get yourself a rice cooker. They usually have a little tray on top that you can throw your vegetables in on top. So throw my asparagus right on top of my rice. Steam that. Good to go. It's not you really start changing your mindset of what tastes good and what you need to eat. Yeah. Everybody knows, like people say to me, oh, how can you eat that? It doesn't even taste good. I'm like, it's nutrients.
Yeah, it is.
It's what I need.
Eating good food, eating good tasting food is awesome, but if your mindset is for, you got a goal.
Yeah.
And it's 12 weeks where you got to freaking put the clamps on the diet. You could do that, right?
Exactly. Give up the beer, give up the pizzas, the burgers and all that. And just let it go. Then afterwards you get back to it if you really miss it that much.
So what's the last big week then? I mean, you're 1 week out now. You already laid it out a little bit for us. What you're going to be taking in some fluids and then dehydrate yourself. Mm-hmm. What's your training like? Say 2 or 3 weeks leading into this thing. I mean, what is the weight room stuff? What's that looking like?
Hard because now you're calorie restricted because you're coming down to it. You're really trying to shut out those last few pounds. So you're doing, say, an hour lifting session. You're going hard the entire time. Everything's supersetted. There's only 30-second breaks, 2 minutes between exercises.
Are you still
hitting the big
with
lifts?
Your supersets? Well, yeah, that too.
I always start off with the big lifts.
But I mean, with the supersets, I mean, if you're going to do, are you doing a back squat?
Yep.
So if you're doing a back squat that session, what are you supersetting that day then? Are we talking just some machine-based stuff or?
Most of the stuff for bodybuilding anyway is going to be more machine-based. Yeah. Right? Because you can hit that same range of motion every single time to really flood a lot of blood into the muscle, really make it expand. But if I'm doing back squat, I might do like superset back squat and leg press. Big fan of that one. Go back and forth. And then
are you working the backside of your legs on those days also?
Yeah.
Or is that all right?
Yeah. So then from there I'll do, to your point, I'll do laying down leg curl and like heavy RDLs, sets of like 6 maybe.
Do you ever see any potential injury risk with fatiguing, whatever. With if you're doing heavy RDLs and another hamstring exercise with it. I mean, do you see that with any peers?
I've never had it. It could happen, obviously.
Right.
Anything can happen.
But you also build yourself up to that point too, where your body's familiar and
Right.
comfortable with it. You're
Right.
probably not like I'm not going to go do that tomorrow because I might not be able to walk for a couple days with sore hamstrings. But you've been kind of
I've been doing
accumulating
this
and
for
working.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right.
I have friends that kind of try and jump in with me on my workouts, and
Sounds like a bad idea.
and I got friends that work out every day and work out hard,
Yeah.
and they say, "Oh shit, like maybe I haven't been working out that hard," just because they're not used to it.
They're not getting ready for something.
No.
And they probably don't work as hard as you either.
No.
On that side
Well,
of it too.
my I don't want to say I don't work out as hard as I do. It's just not in the same style.
I'll say it. I'll say it for you.
But I got to give a shout out. My lifting partner, Kenny Rampolla.
Oh yeah.
He's one of the owners of Lost Tavern Brewing. Great place if you can drink beer.
We might have to
drink
get
it there. Drink it there. But
Been a brainstorming an idea for a
Yep.
show with me and Frank going to some local businesses.
There we go.
Maybe we'll have to take our show on the road down
Kenny,
there. So Kenny's training with you.
Kenny's been working.
He just
out
works
with
out,
me.
right? I mean, he's not competing in anything, right?
No, he just works out side by side with me for maybe 4 years now.
Cool.
And we really, really push each other.
Nice.
Like, it's something, when you have a great lifting partner and you just don't feel like getting that rep, and you got this guy screaming at you, like in your face, and then, he gets the rep. Well, shit, now I got to do it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I got to give a shout out to him. He keeps pushing me, keeps me on tap.
Comparable strength between the two, or
Yeah, he has me on chest a bit. His chest movements are a little bit stronger than mine. I have him on some back and leg movements, but overall we're within the
Nice.
same realm.
awesome. I mean, even going into that same book that I'll probably talk about a few times here, all those guys, when you got 2 or 3 guys watching you doing some stuff, like you're probably going to get that extra rep, or you're probably,
Yeah.
they showed a picture, I think it was Arnold hitting a deep back squat there's another guy, Dave Draper, there watching, and they're like, at this gym, like you're not going a quarter depth. You're not going to be allowed. You're not going to be allowed to train.
You can get
here
laughed out of there
with these guys if you guys aren't pushing it and getting the weights jacked up and doing things right. So, that's awesome. Then I mean, overall, this week you're still cranking it.
Mm-hmm.
Focus is on what? I mean, do you mess around with obviously doing a set for 20-something reps, you're going to be under tension for long periods of time, but do you do any tempo stuff in the sense where you're slowly lowering weights and anything like that?
I mix it in here or there. It's typically not my programs, but just to just to throw something in, so I'm doing something different that day. I'll mix some tempo stuff in real slow negatives.
Well, that's some of the cool stuff that I think where, if you don't have the bands and chains and you are trying to boost some strength, say you are a year out or something from a show, you might be able to do some. I've done it with just kids and it seems to work well, but like some heavy squats and one day and then the next day you're doing some tempo stuff.
Yep.
It's cool. And
now that we're 6 days out from a show, my training changes up a little bit. Like I still do the basic movements, but everything drops down to lower weight, and I go to say like 20-25 reps, squeezing everything. Every rep.
How many sets? Do you think?
Depending on the exercise, bench I'll do maybe 6-7 sets. Squats, same thing. Back I'll do. I'll do start off with 100 pull-ups and then do like 5 or 6 sets of 20 on lat pull down right after that. So real high volume for the next like 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I really won't do much. Friday's off. Because you can't be sore for the show.
What is your you're doing a lot of volume. That was just kind of leading up, but then when you are doing some of those big strength moves, say like 4 or 5 weeks out, is there ever a focus where you're keeping those reps in that 2 to 5 range for the big lifts, or are you just trying to get volume throughout?
It's still trying at that point getting volume.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get from the heavy movements. You're not gonna get that any real size in the next 4 weeks. Especially when you're calorie depleted and all, you're not going to gain any mass while depleting these things down.
Yeah. But then going too with the old school, new school mindset. So what do you see? Oh, I wanted to hit this too quick. You're talking about doing 20 to 25 reps. You know the name Dorian Yates at all? He's like early 90s. So
of course, one of the greats.
Apparently he was like, just the first huge guy that really burst on the scene. And he was on talking about his training. And I think he only did like one set. It might have been 2 sets of everything, but everything was to failure.
Mm-hmm.
And like legitimate failure, not like I don't think I could do anymore. Like if he was doing leg extensions or something, it was like until his legs were about to
cramping.
explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of the big guys that really started doing like a lot of machine-based movements. Because like in his words, you can fail out of a machine. If you're doing a chest press on like a hammer strength chest press machine and you just press them out, right? You can keep going until you just completely fatigue and fall apart.
Yeah.
Right? If you're doing that on a bench, you're going to hurt yourself.
Especially that dude was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about, 95 pounds dropping on his throat.
No.
It's, so that's more, I think that's kind of almost where the transition, this is what I wanted to get to too with it, where, some of those old school guys in that book, they're still like, they still did athletic things. It seemed, in my opinion, they were still, there's pictures of Franco Columbu like hanging upside down by his feet.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing these like gymnastic type stuff. Columbu was entering the world strongman competitions. He was 5'6", competing with these big ass guys. Then you get the new school approach where I feel like they're like with Dorian Yates and stuff. He was at first like huge. Like I think the body started to change maybe in the early to mid 90s, and then there was guys like Ronnie Coleman, more machine based training. So. Is there, I know the guy that just won was Mr. Olympia, I think was around, is he 40 or something? He was one of the older guys?
44, Sean Roden.
Do you think it's going to circle back at all in terms of, like, do you see any trends or anything where we had this old school approach? Let's get strong. Like Schwarzenegger would deadlift 700 plus, 800, who knows, back squat 500 plus, Are guys still doing that? Yeah,
absolutely. You got guys like Big Ramy. He's, I think he's Egyptian. The House.
Yeah.
House. You got guys like that are moving a ton of weight, right? But what you're noticing now in bodybuilding in general, you had the Ronnie Colemans of the world and even Jay Cutler's, where they had that big distended gut, because they're so big. It looks like each ab, it looks like a small football, just sitting on top. Now with Phil Heath started changing it in the past few years. Now Sean Roden, they're getting back to that classic bodybuilder style where they're getting that tapered waist. You don't turn to the side and their gut sticks out further than their chest does. They're getting away from that.
Color was the tipping point then, it seems, in the sense of he just got too damn big, which just started like not looking.
Well, I think
as pleasing visually also.
It was really Ronnie Coleman who did. He's the one that took it there, and Jay Cutler was always right on his heels.
He was like the last.
He was the last one,
of that, which is good, I think, because people see that aren't. Yeah, I've never bodybuilt, but my dad did, so I know some of these old guys back in the day. But like, if people aren't familiar with bodybuilding, and then they see that, they're like, "That's gross." Like nobody really is too fond of it. So that's
an argument I always have with like my wife, for example. I make her watch Pump and Iron with me, or I make her watch like the newer ones, Generation Iron, and she goes, I don't understand why you like that. That's gross. I'm like, well, that's just it. It's not an attractive thing I'm looking for. It's impressive. It's the amount of stress you can put on your body to manipulate it so much to make it look that way, put it to that extreme. And you just think all the time, the effort, the diet, the science that goes into making your body look like that.
Yeah.
People say all the time, like, oh, that's gross. I don't want to look like that. Well, good. Half of them don't want to look like you either.
True.
You know what I mean?
You're probably
but it's not an attractiveness. It's more of a see how far someone can push themselves to actually get to that point.
Yeah. And that's what you do every day you train as well. Like every training session, I feel like for people that compete in this type of stuff, I mean, they're just pushing their body to a certain limit each and every day. And which brings me to 2 things. One, same thing, this book, old school stuff, flooding a certain muscle group for a session. So basically, let's say you're doing upper body there was a thought process, maybe you do some lower body exercises too, right? So if you exercise a muscle, all this blood flows to that muscle. Now if you start to do some lower body training, it might divert some of that blood from, say, your biceps or whatever into the lower body. So they got away from that. They just want to kind of focus on one thing each session. You said that's kind of your approach to stuff, right? So, I mean, you kind of just hammer in those areas, like you were saying, just trying to push your body to new limits each and every day. How do you recover, sleep? I mean, you said soon to be 4-year-old.
Yep.
You got another child coming on the way.
One
recovery,
on the way.
We talked nutrition, you're getting a lot of calories in. Closer to the show, where you're starting to make everything you put in your mouth count. What about sleep? Any other recovery like modalities you've experienced, like anything tried?
Sleep is always that's always number one.
Well, what's your work schedule though? Just how many hours a day you working?
So I usually get to the gym at 5 a.m.
Right.
I leave the gym usually to pick up my son from daycare at 4. Get him by 4:30. Then I usually do an in-home training session after that. Come home after that. I usually take him with me to my in-home. It's kind of fun. Then I come home, start cooking my meals, do laundry, play with my son for a while, get him to bed. And then that whole time, my wife's just coming home from work. She has a high demand professional job, professional career. And then hopefully I get to bed by 10, 11.
And you're getting up at
4.
All right, so not
Yeah.
ideal in
No,
that
no.
sense. So
But-
let's give you the benefit of the doubt. Say you fall asleep at 10, get up at 4, 6 hours of sleep. You think that affects you at all in terms of?
Absolutely. When my goal is always be in bed by like 9, and it never happens ever. But just
Well, that being said, if that's one thing you can't change, is there anything else that you've tried to do to kind of boost recovery that has worked, or you just kind of
really,
do your
I
thing?
try and make sure I give myself the right calories.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Make sure I have the right foods. I'm not eating all junk. If I do eat junk, that's fine. Use that as extra, but make sure you're getting your good meals in too. Your lean meats, your fish, your brown rice, your vegetables, asparagus, stuff like that.
Yep.
If you need to supplement your diet with supplements, do so.
Do you?
Absolutely.
You got a whole slew of them?
Yeah, I'm actually, here's a pitch right now, sponsored by JBN, Just Be Natural and Pump Labs, local company, been around for 37 years, I think. Steve's going to kill me if I get that wrong. I've been around for a long time. They make real high quality supplements real close to home here, right there in Bethlehem.
Where's Pump Labs?
Pump Labs, that's just their
That's the name?
subsidiary.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit more towards a bodybuilder, powerlifter side of things, not just like a healthy lifestyle side of things. But yeah, I've been taking their branched chain amino acids, their protein, their glutamine, creatine, right, for the past over a year now, and I feel fantastic taking it.
Does any of that, does the amount that you take change at all throughout the 12-week, say, program?
Yeah. For the first half of it, 6 weeks, it stays pretty high. I'm taking in anywhere from 200 to 300 grams of protein a day. You're not going to do that in straight fish. Fish and chicken. You're gonna eat too much. So I usually mix I usually try and keep it to 2 shakes a day. Every once in a while, with my schedule, training clients and all that, I might have to skip a meal and down a shake instead. But I try not to make that a habit. But yeah, then your branched chains, get those in every day so you can just heal up. Your glutamine, get it in every day. Your water, if you don't drink at least a gallon of water a day, you're not going to heal up. Period. You're not going to get stronger.
So your recovery is just supplements and staying hydrated, and each and every day you're able to wake up and train at a high level with no issues?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Now, I did just 4 weeks ago, I tried something new, went outside the box a little bit, and
risky. A couple of weeks before show.
I know. Well, from years of football, when we were playing all the way back, I think our sophomore year in high school.
Are you giving another shout out here?
I might.
I think I might have saw this online. He was guest number 1 on
I
here.
know. I know. That's why I figured it was all right to throw him out there.
No, it's always good. Yeah.
Tore up my shoulder way back when. Years of football, it didn't get any better, of course. And now my mobility is terrible. A lot of times it's affecting my training routines. So I noticed when I started practicing my posing 6 weeks out from my show that I wasn't able to open my shoulders up all the way. I couldn't get a good shoulder turn in some of my poses. So I called Wes. He did his voodoo black magic on that thing.
Cool.
And I'll tell you what, I'm not doing it right now because of the show coming up, but I have another appointment 1 week from tomorrow, right after my show, and that's going to be like the deep tissue massage is going to be a regular part of my routine now.
That's kind of what I was going to ask then. So you got one treatment, and you saw some results.
Substantial results.
Hi, Wes. Nice.
Yeah, Wes holding out there.
Now we're getting close now, right? We're just talking about it. Competition days coming up. So mindset, I guess, this whole week now, leading into the show. So basically, the whole week, your mindset, day of mindset, any kind of pre-show routines. Like, what's your approach to everything leading up mentally?
So now it's you got to kind of break yourself of, okay, you got to get better. To now the mindset is you're not going to get any stronger. You're not going to get any bigger. The weight that you lost, you pretty much lost. You're not going to really lose another 5 pounds, except for the water cut at the end. So you really got to kind of switch your mindset from building to now just tighten it all and bring it all together.
Yep.
So like I said, my training will change a little bit. I'll then go, my diet will change up. Coach puts me on a depletion diet to really cut out all that water weight.
Just define, what are you looking at there? What are we talking?
So tomorrow, I think I have 8 meals during the day, and not one of them is anything other than a piece of fish or chicken.
Awesome.
Like, there's no rice, there's nothing. It's just fish or chicken. And then that'll be that way from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wednesday night, I'll probably have a high-carb meal. Thursday, I'll have a high-carb. Friday will be like a cup and a half of white rice with every meal while I'm depleting all the water. So it really kind of dehydrates you while still keeping glycogen up.
So that's the thought process there. And then the day of, what time do you hit the stage?
So they usually do, so you got to back up one day to the day before. You go, you got to get there, you do your check-ins and all that, normal stuff. Bodybuilders have to weigh in. You go from there, you go get your spray. All right. Yeah, you got a spray tan.
Got a spray.
And you go from a normal skin tone to you look like one crazy individual, man. But you spray that night, go right to bed, eat, and then go to bed. Next morning, you usually got to get a second spray, just like a top coat. Then, I'll show you pictures later. That's crazy. You're painted. Painted. Then that morning, you usually have a competitor meeting at like 9. Get on stage by 10, 11 o'clock for prejudging. Then they have finals that night. So prejudging, if you're not familiar with bodybuilding, that's when like all the real judging is done. It's not geared for public. Public comes, they sell tickets and all that, but it's not really geared for public. There's some lighthouse music. You come out, you do your posing, and you stand on the sidelines. They might bring you out with this group of 5, do your comparisons, and that's it. You're done for the morning. The afternoon is when they have, Do
you have any idea based off of who they bring you out with, like where you're standing in the pecking order?
Yeah, absolutely. So they bring out. They'll tell you that this means nothing.
Right.
Bull. It means everything. If you're the closer you are to middle, right, the better off you are. So if all the competitors are standing on the sidelines, right, and they bring out 5 people and they put you on center stage, right in the center, right, and leave you there, they're comparing everybody to you. So you're first, second, or third right there. If they keep moving everybody around you, you have this one, it's yours to lose, pretty much. So going into it, you finish that day by, say, noon. You come back at 4 o'clock for the evening show, right? That's when they'll pull you through it one more time, and that's the awards. That's where they hand out the trophies and all that.
That's not prejudging. That's
finals.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the same day?
Yeah. That's that night. So that's like in the pros, you have to be invited back for finals. In the NPC as an amateur, everybody comes back for finals. It's just whether or not you get a trophy or not.
Yeah.
So you do prejudging, then you have that break between shows,
Yep.
and because you think about, okay, where was I on stage? You start getting in your own head between the shows,
Right.
And you start thinking, okay, how am I doing? Finals, am I going to be first, second? Am I going to be last? Am I not going to? I'm not going to get anything. And it really starts messing with you because you put 12 weeks of effort into this. You're missing family functions, meals, friends invite you out that you don't go to because, they're just going to be drinking and eating pizza. And you can't do that. You're just going to be sitting there with your bottle of water.
Yeah.
You miss all this stuff. And then you're thinking to yourself, man, if I hope I did well, like I didn't get first call outs, I gave all that up for nothing. And that's where you kind of got to look at it and say, okay, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this for myself, to improve on myself. Not doing it for if I really want the trophy, I'll go buy a $5 trophy.
You don't want to play the victim mindset
No,
and start feeling
no.
sorry for yourself. But I guess then before, even if we just go back to before prejudging, like what is your mindset? You try to get amped up. Do you stay by yourself? Do you chat it up with the guys? Like, what's that like backstage?
So I've been doing this for a long time. So I'm a little bit different backstage, right? I usually kind of gravitate to a corner by myself, just relax, kind of walk around a little bit, find some of the young guys, trying to help them out because you have a big pump up room about the size of this if it's a good show. It's a good show. You have a lot of equipment in there, dumbbells, stuff like that, cable sets. The key is that you want to pump up about 15 minutes before you get on stage, 15, 20 minutes, that's it. You see the young guys, they're sitting there doing their lat raises an hour beforehand. All right.
Yeah.
Got a little more time. All right, do some more.
Nervous energy, or
yeah,
they're trying,
because they know they need to pump up, but they don't know when. So I usually try and help them out a little bit. I always get a kick out of the guys that walk around with their headphones on, like blasting music in the ears, like they're gonna go get in a fight or something.
Yeah.
Like, man, you're not touching anybody. Like, what are you getting all amped up for? Like they would get all amped up like how we would before a football game. You know what I mean? This is bodybuilding. It's about you. It's about your own mindset. About just doing your routine. If like while I'm laying there in the corner, usually get your feet up off the floor a little bit. You just think about your posing routine. Play it through in your head. With the steps that you're going to take. Come out to the stage, hit the centered box. Hit every pose, play it through, each one. Then, after a little bit, stand up, practice your posing routine right there, because when you get on stage, you should be able to do it all with your eyes closed and not miss a step. It's almost like a dance.
How often do you practice poses throughout the whole training process?
I try and get a little bit in every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not much. At least go through like my basic poses while I'm doing chest. Try and hit a pose, that really throws off, what you're going to be doing to accentuate your chest on stage.
That's just something you do, or is that you coached on that? Or you picked that up from somebody along the way?
No, coach tells me to practice more.
Yeah.
About like for the past 2 weeks, I try and get in maybe 10 minutes a day. Like that's a lot. At the end, you're sweating.
How long are you on stage for prejudging, and then how long are you on stage for actually posing? Actually posing, 30 seconds by yourself. Then you go to the sideline, then they bring you back out for the comparisons. Mm-hmm. That's maybe another 2-3 minutes. So you got 12 weeks of grinding for 2.5, 3 minutes stops?
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen so many. I've seen so many people do so well and come to a show so well, but then they don't win anything. They don't do shit because they don't put the time into posing. They have a fantastic physique, but they don't know how to show it.
Right.
Posing, anybody you talk to, they'll tell you that's the hardest part. Hell, watch a Pumping Iron opening scene when him and Franco Columbu are doing a ballet, right? Just trying to learn how their body moves so they can pose better.
Yeah. So, it's practically like any other sport in the sense that, like, if you play basketball, you're only going to have the ball in your hands for like 3.5 minutes over the course of a 40-minute game or something like that. So it kind of fits in that whole same mold. You practice all these hours just for those few seconds you got it. Now you kind of talked about it too, just in between the mindset in between, but like I don't want to say the guys with the headphones getting amped up or trying to maybe intimidate. Could be some ego involved there. You also have the potential body image component, male and female, I would assume. A guy's, almost like if you're not psychologically prepared to fail and cool with it, like if you're going to be that victim and say, oh no, I did so bad, and let that affect you, you're probably going to be affected post-show also with, a downward, not a downward spiral, but, being a funk maybe a little bit. So, I don't want to say win or lose, you don't care, but like you're at a point where you're kind of comfortable with everything you're doing in your bodybuilding career that, you do your best. And
that being said, I mean, you always want to do better. Just this morning I was looking at I was sitting in my office because you mentioned before we have a kid on the way, so my office became the nursery, and my office got pushed down to the basement. So I'm like hanging up all
next is outside or something.
Exactly.
You get a shed.
I'm back of the truck. But I was just like looking at, my past trophies that are all sitting there in a box and all that. And, I haven't won a first place yet. So that's a goal.
Yeah.
But if I show up at the Pennsylvania this weekend and, if I don't take a first or an overall, I'll be disappointed. But it's not like I'm going to get mad about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, okay, that's a learning experience. How are we going to switch it up moving forward so next time I can take that first? You know what I mean? Like what did I mess up on? What are other people doing that I'm not? Throw in there. I
guess too, at the end of the day, not for you to ever admit this because you're the one competing, but like, there's a lot of factors that go into stuff. So it's like, you have your own business, you have a family, you're getting 6 hours of sleep every night, you're working your best, but some guy might just be able to train more, sleep better. And so he might just be genetically more gifted. It's like, no matter what you do, you're going to probably get to a point where somebody's going to kick your ass and something.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you just got to be like ready for that. And I guess the way that you handle that situation is going to define if you're a success or not in taking first place, but just overall.
In general.
Mentally. Yeah.
So I look at guys I've competed with over the years, and I just think to myself, like, man, that guy was really good. He took a first, right? But then I look and I'm like, well, what else they got going for them?
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
that's a good thing.
I have a successful business that I've been running for 8 going on 9 years. I have a fantastic, loving wife. I have a 4-year-old and another child on the way, another son on the way. This is a hobby to me that I love doing. It's great for me personally, great for my mindset, great for my business. But if I don't do well at it, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? I still got all this other stuff going on that I'm very successful at, that I consider being more successful than, having $1 million in the bank or, winning a trophy.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It's probably the right way to go.
Yeah.
Because if bodybuilding was all you had, then you would define yourself, based off first, second, third, or maybe not even being mentioned. And,
right.
If you go in enough competitions, you don't win enough competitions, you're going to be a loser a lot of times. So it's like.
I've lost more competitions than I placed in.
I don't know if it was like Dean Smith, one of these coaches where it's like if you live and die in each game, then you're gonna die a lot, basically. Yeah. It's kind of the quote that how it went. I mean, it's obviously a little bit better, more articulate than that, but basically you're going to die a lot of deaths.
That's one of the great ones.
If you play sport, you will die a lot of deaths, I guess, is the moral of that one. Body dysmorphia, we talked about a little bit beforehand.
Yep. So I was, like we were saying beforehand, excuse my language, but it's a complete mind you go into it and beforehand you put all these hours in the gym and you get yourself to a point where you're one of the biggest guys in the room. Any room you walk into, you're one of the biggest guys, but in your back of your mind, you got a long ways to go. Yeah. I mean, you might be 6'4", 240. Man, I wish I was 250. You know what I mean? Like that. It's always in the back of your mind.
All the big guys, they want to be a little bit leaner or smaller, and then all the small guys want to be a little bit bigger.
But then
that's funny.
But then you get into show in the prep, and you say, "Well, I'm pretty lean," and all of a sudden you lose 40 pounds in your prep. Well, maybe I wasn't that lean.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
True.
So now you see yourself in the mirror and you say, man, I'm okay. I'm looking with the way I want to look for this show. You show well, whatever happens, the show happens. The next week is the hardest part. All right, you start eating normally again. You kind of reverse diet a little bit so you don't just calorie dump and really get yourself in some big health issues.
Reverse diet in what sense? Just define that for us, I guess.
You gotta slowly. You can't just kind of go out and binge everything.
Got it.
Your body's not going to handle that well at all. You can have that, that night, after you show, go ahead, eat a pizza, but then slowly add your nutrients back in, the ones that you've been depleting and messing with so much for the past 12 weeks. But then I'll go from like 197 to 210, right? And you'll see that picture, your first show pictures, usually get them a week after the show. You see like, man, what happened? Like I look so good there. What happened the past week? I look so fat, but then you're like, wait a second, I'm still only 5% body fat.
And you're, 30 pounds lighter than what you were, and 10 to 15% lower in body fat than you were 10 months ago, 12 months ago, but still messing with your head, man.
Yeah,
if you can't handle that, you're gonna have a tough life, I think.
I think the women have a harder time with it just because.
I think guys don't admit it, man. I see it too. Guys are weird with like comparing themselves to other men and stuff.
Oh my God,
it's a thing for sure. And
but I tell people all the time, they say, man, I want to compete, and I just look at them like, know what you're going to give up here.
Yeah.
Know what it's going to do to you mentally, not even physically. The missed events and the mental side of it that we're talking about now. It's big. It's hard.
And the more you do those cuts too, I mean, I just hear about it in other sports that involve weight classes and whatnot, but the more you do these big significant cuts, like if you're fluctuating your body weight crazily all the time, say a boxer gains 35 to 50 pounds in between fights, then has to make the cut. Every time that you try to make that cut, it's just going to be harder and harder. Your body can only handle that kind of, well, number one, you're putting it through some extreme stress just for the competition, and it's not always going to recover back to 100%, in terms of just hormonal functions.
Right.
And in that sense, I think women have it tougher.
Mm-hmm.
I think the more times they do something, it's just a hormonal thing, I think, where if they're at a super calorie restriction, I think, the more periodically they do that, the harder it becomes for them to kind of maintain post whatever competition and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, I see it with clients that, which I actually want to transition to this, where, you got a client that's 40, 50 years old and they're female and they want to lose weight, but they've been at such a calorie deficit, say, for so long, they're only eating salads and whatnot, that their body's just not functioning, where it's like, we can't cut any more calories from your diet because you're only eating 1,200 calories.
Right.
So you got to kind of figure out ways to get them to eat some nutrients and, eat more calories and still lose weight, which is the tricky part. But going with that, I mean, what is your approach with people that come in? So I don't think we got into this, but I mean, Kevin, you started there. How many years did you work as a trainer?
2 years.
2 years as a trainer, and then the transition became, he ended up basically buying the business, right, from the man that hired him. So, and you've been 8-9 years now, you said? 8
years, going on 9.
So 10 years of training people. What's the approach now with clients? Say the average person just wants to come in and drop some weight and get a little bit more fit.
First thing I do, what I do with all my clients, I have them fill out a diet log, right? And
how long they do that? A couple of days?
I ask them for at least 4 days.
Yeah.
Try and get 2 normal days, like 2 work days and 2 off days that they're out of their normal routine. Weekends are perfect.
Yeah.
Go through 4 days that, and I'll just glance at it, and you'll see right away, that they're eating too much, eating too little, or drinking too much. And what it does for the client then, without even me having to say it, they start looking and say, wow, I ate like shit that day. And then the next day, wow, I ate like shit that day too. And then all of a sudden they realize that they're putting garbage in their body every day. So then I just try and guide them on basic nutrition. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian by any means. But I look at them and say, listen, basic nutrition, all right, 50% carbs, 20% fats, 30% proteins. Just try and stay within those ranges. So I might suggest a diet plan that will put them into those ranges. just overall good, healthy nutrients. I have a client right now that she lost a lot of weight, 100 pounds in just over a year. She was doing great, but we got to a point now that we kept decreasing calories, right?
Yeah.
As she lost weight, and she's been kind of stagnant. She fell off the wagon a little bit, went up a little bit.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, of course. It went up 10, 15 pounds. These things happen, and she said she wants to lose that again. So she got back on her diet. Nothing was happening. So I gave her another diet plan that had an extra 700 calories in it. And I can't eat that. Like, I'm going to get fat. Just eat it. Try it out. Appease me for 2 weeks. Like, if it's 2 weeks, we can stop and go back to what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. She lost 3 pounds that first week just by adding 700 calories a day into her diet plan.
Yeah. I think it was that same thing that it sounds like similar to what I was saying, where she was just at a big time calorie restriction and things just weren't working the way that they should have been and functioning and burning the way. Yeah.
Right. You gotta put the
and it's probably more
fuel on the
nutrient
fire.
dense too. Yeah. Like more, you could eat nutrients. It's okay. You know, don't be obsessed with calories. That's always an interesting thing. You know, the calorie thing is people just are really concerned. And mathematically speaking, I mean, I get what
Calories
what
in,
people are
calories
saying.
out. Yeah.
And I think in like research stuff, like a science paper, you know, I get it. But you could eat good food, and if it exceeds 2,500 calories of good food compared to 2,200 calories of Snickers bars.
Yeah. Snickers bars are good, but
it tastes good for sure. But anyway, you get the drift. We got a food law. You know, you want to try to get them on that basic thing: carbohydrates. You know, roughly 50%, protein 30, fats 20. And then how do you approach their strength training stuff?
So it depends on each individual person, obviously, right? So if someone's coming in,
hypothetically, somebody could come in. Let's just set the stage here. 3 times a week or something.
Yep.
All right. So let's say you got somebody coming in. They could commit 3 times a week.
So if someone comes into me, I'd say let's do 3 times a week. They can commit to that.
Yeah.
I'll start breaking them down. I still use my old school basic bodybuilding style, even with the most rookie client, someone that's never worked out before a day in their lives. You just got to slow down a bit. So, you never want your client to pass out on you or anything like that, right? So you just take that basic style. I usually do an upper body for someone that's never worked out before. I'll do an upper body day, a lower body day, and a full body day. Right? Full body day is quite simply HIIT training, just get their heart rate up.
You're trying to go like upper, lower body, like superset upper body exercise with lower body, or do you superset upper? Lower. So I love like a client like that. I love to do like a push pull. So I'll have them do, say, bench press and superset with lat pull downs. Yeah.
Push ups and like rows on like a TRX strap. Stuff like that.
So if you're pushing horizontal here, say you're going to pull horizontal. Whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I do a lot of that for new clients. Then as they get more and more advanced, I just kind of step up the pace with the programs.
You got a 1 day a weeker? You just hitting everything if you can?
I do. I have several. Unfortunately, people are busy and families work. They can't get in more than a day a week. So on their own, they try and get, a run in or something, maybe yoga class or something. And then, 1 day a week, we just hit it and we do full body, everything circuit based. So I'll do like, I just did one yesterday. We did a chest press on a machine to lat pull down to squats. Then we did, that's one set, or one superset.
Yeah.
Then another one we did incline chest press to like a machine row to like walking lunges. And just try
hammering them out.
Just try and do like 3 or 4 different groupings like that in an hour. That
would wipe anybody out, to be honest.
Yeah, it's brutal. It really is.
As long as you're choosing the right weights, I don't think you need to get super. And then it sounds too. It just seems that people that are coming in there, they're going to hit each muscle group at least once, probably at least twice a week. I mean, right, either with you or on their own. So that means those muscles are getting activated, a few times a week, which is awesome. And then if they have, say, any kind of recommendations, I mean, it's hard to. let's just say running's not an option, is there anything you encourage, like walks, treadmill, elliptical stuff, like anything you?
I personally will tell people all the time, don't run. Do not run. It's bad for your joints, bad for your back. It actually, if you run hard, it actually shuts down your metabolism, slows you down. I'm a big proponent of steady state cardio. Put your treadmill on 13% and walk at 2.8 miles an hour for half hour, 45 minutes.
So that'd be the first thing you would recommend for somebody. They're saying, hey, what do I do? I'm coming in Tuesday and I'm not going to lift. We're working out Monday. Come in Tuesday. You'll probably get them on a treadmill, something like that. Just hammer away there.
Well, in my workouts, I tell people all the time, don't pay me to get on a treadmill. That's stupid. Go to whether you're coming to my gym, any other gym, you have one in your home, do it on your own time.
Right.
If you're working out with a trainer and they're making you walk on a treadmill as I stand there and watch TV with you, that's stupid.
Yeah.
But the first thing as far as cardio goes, burn those extra calories. Steady state cardio is where it's at. Get on a stair mill, get on a bike, and just.
You're gonna cut that at 40-ish. You got like a time frame?
Yeah.
Is there a max amount of time that you don't want to be doing that in your opinion?
I usually don't go over 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes, if you can still do more at 45 minutes, you didn't go hard enough.
So you want them to have that, you just want to get their heart rate moderately elevated?
Yep, and just hold it there.
All right. No, it's cool. Last thing, important thing, you already talked about, this was actually somebody that comes in was wondering too, she asked about this, approach with your children to say, you played sports growing up, right? So everybody wants to know, what should my 4-year-old, 5-year-old, should I get him involved in this, that, and the other thing? How do you think you're going to handle that approach with your son then? Just kind of throw a bunch of things at him, see what sticks, or do you?
Yeah. If it's up to me, my kid's going to be playing football. But if he doesn't like football, that's on him.
Why football? Let's hear it.
In my personal opinion, it's the best team sport out there. Period.
Just heard somebody say rowing was. Guy was a Navy SEAL. Said rowing crew in college. He said it's a great. He says if one guy's off a little bit, man, it's going to mess the boat up.
I could see it.
And I never thought of that.
I never really thought of it that way.
I'll take him at his word. I never got in a boat myself.
I way too much.
Football was the winner, man.
See, I always looked at football as the best team sport. It's if one person is not doing their job, there's not. A lineman never has their hand on the ball, right? So they don't score the points. But if that lineman misses their block or can't get their block, they're not going to score that touchdown. Yeah. You as a quarterback is not going to be able to throw the ball the extra, 10 yards down the field for a deeper ball because the lineman didn't hold his block for an extra 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Or a tenth of a second even.
Yeah, seriously.
So I look at football as it's more of just a game there. It teaches you so much for accountability. You have an entire team, right, counting on everything you do, both on and off the field. So if you screw up off the field, you can't play that day. Well, now your backup's playing that is not experienced as you are. Well, guess what? The team just lost because you were screwing off the other day. Mm-hmm. So if it's up to me, my kid's going to play football. But in the meantime, he's about to turn 4. We get him in anything that'll keep him active. He's in swim class at least once a week. In the summer, he does this baseball camp thing that lasts I think 6 weeks or something like that, once a week. Just gets him out and gets active, learns how his body's moving. Yeah. I think it's really, really important. He comes visits me every Saturday at work. My wife has off, so she brings him down, and he comes down and runs around the gym and all that, likes to jump on different equipment. Just try and teach him this works this and this how this moves. I know most of it's right over the top of his head, but
doesn't matter.
Yep, doesn't matter. Get him familiar with it.
Awesome. Then Fiegel, time to go to Fiegel, man. He's taking notes over
there. What do you got, Fiegel?
Question time, pop quiz, man.
So I got one question, and it kind of relates to everything that you talked about. Reverse engineering goals from the standpoint of training, from the standpoint of lifestyle. How do you go about that? How would you recommend that to someone? Yeah.
So the big thing, I tell this to people all the time. Look at what you want to do. Okay. Look at your end game. This is the end picture. It can't be vague either. You can't say, I want to be rich. Well, what's rich? Is rich having a good family, a good job, good career, good work-life balance, which doesn't exist anyway. Is that it, or is it rich like having $1 million in the bank? So define your goals. Have a specific idea of what you want to do. Okay. Then reverse engineer it. Okay. If I want to be, take an easy one. I want to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. Okay. Very specific. All right. So you want to be a CT surgeon. From there, say, okay, to do that, I need a fellowship. All right. Before that, I need to do a residency. Before that, I need a medical degree. Okay. So what am I going to do now to set me up now so I can get into the best school to get that medical degree? And then what am I going to do there to set me up to get that residency, then the fellowship, and then finally get to be that CT surgeon. So if you want to start a business, think of whatever business you want to do. You want to own a gym, okay? Say, okay, how I want to own a gym that's can't just be any gym, because Chris and I both own gyms, and they're very different.
They do not look alike.
Not at all. They're completely different. Completely. So you got to be specific. You say, okay, I want to own a gym that's 15,000 square foot and have full array of cardio and strength equipment. Okay, how do I get there? So first you got to start off with your knowledge base. How are you going to do funding? And you got to reverse engineer all the way back to where you're standing here today. So today, what am I going to do to take that first step to make that move for tomorrow and keep moving forward? If you don't, it's you're kind of saying, okay, I'm going to drive to California without a roadmap. You can keep moving that rough direction. You're going to get there eventually, maybe, but you're going to keep going west, and it's going to take you an extra few weeks.
Might
right?
end up down in Mexico or something.
Yeah, exactly. Tijuana.
Yeah. You're going to Sinaloa drug cartel down there.
work on the wall. But, you gotta have that direction, that drive. I see people all the time, train a lot of kids that come through the gym, and they say, man, I'm starting to apply for college. Okay, well, what are you going to go for? I don't know yet. I think I'm just going to get like a business degree. Okay, for what? I'm not sure yet. Then why are you getting a business degree? Like I run a business now going on 9 years. I never took one business class in my life. Not one. Just recently, I read my first business book, like just 2 months ago.
What was it?
My personal MBA.
Oh, no.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. It's one of those books that you got to read like 2 or 3 times to get everything out of it. Great website too.
Check it out.
But you don't need that. Say, okay, you want to get into business, but what do you want to do in business? If you want to be a psychologist, do you need a business degree? No, you need a psychology degree. Know your field and do it because you like to do it. Do it because you're passionate about what you're doing. Once you figure out what you're passionate about and what you like to do and how you can help people, the money, the success, the fame, the fortune, all that, whatever anybody wants, that'll come afterwards. You know what I mean? That's not with business, but that's with anything. You want to deadlift 600 pounds. Okay, well, can you deadlift the bar first? You know what I mean? Try and lift that up. You do it. Do it 20 times. Perfect every time. Okay, let's add some plates to it. Same exact thing. And when people talk about it that way, well, yeah, of course I can't walk over there and pick up 600 pounds. Right? You got to work up to it. That makes sense. But when people say, well, I just graduated college, why am I not rich yet? Well, you got to work your way up to it. You're still at the bar. You're still working with the empty bar here.
And it's the experience thing too. Like you might not need to know at age 19, but if you have an idea what your life wants to look like 20 years from now, you might not need to know exactly what's going to get you there, but you already have something in your mind. Like, hey, this is where I'm going to be in 20 years.
Right.
Then you got to just start building. You can't just say why am I not making money? You got to find some experience. Keep working, and the same way you approach your bodybuilding training. You each and every day you're grinding it out, trying to make a little bit better. What we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with the way my life is, but it's I want to make it better.
Yeah.
I want to find different ways to be at home more, say, to do more things, going to more vacation, whatever it is. But like, you're always just, I don't know, trying to look for ways, and I don't know. But it took 8-9 years of you working to even get to a point too,
Right.
at the same time. So you didn't go to college for any of this stuff, and you definitely, it's not like an overnight success story either, because you've been grinding away for 10 years. So
It goes back to what we were saying at the onset, that we're always kind of shooting each other phone calls and all to come up with crazy ideas, because you're constantly working on what next, how can I still run a successful business and spend more time at home with my kids, spend more time with my wife, maybe be able to afford to, I don't know, take your family on a vacation, or if you want a really nice car, go buy that Ferrari.
Or take more than a day off if you have a child.
Ooh. Easy now.
I got him. Anyway,
I'm hoping to take 2 days off this time.
And you also claimed there's no work-life balance, but he said that, that's what you said.
Yeah.
But you just said you're bringing your kid to work and stuff like that, so you're finding ways to spend time with everybody.
I think if you want to be successful, there's no such thing as a work-life balance. I think, my personal opinion, this is just me speaking here, there's a lot of smart people out there that'll disagree. If you want to be successful, you got to put the time in. You can't open a business and say, I know what, I want to go home. It's 3:00. It's time for me to cut out. No, you got to put that time in. Put your time in, work 100 hours a week now for the next 5 years. So in 5 years from now, you can work 20 hours a week because you built up that basis. The work-life balance, people focus on like today, this week, as how balanced they are. You got to look long-term, work your ass off, build up a business, build up your career, so then you can retire at 40. And look at that, work-life balance is all messed up too. All you're doing is all living and no work, because you don't have to work anymore.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea.
Exactly.
Anything else, Fiegel?
What do you got?
So the CEO of Netflix, Reed Hastings, once said, "You do your best job when you're surrounded by the best competitors." In applying that to the competition culture, whether in bodybuilding or in life, how do you set your standards apart from the nastiness that can come into the shortcuts, the opportunities to take corners?
I'm going to throw something in quick.
Go for it.
And then just to kind of clarify too, like Kevin is in a small town here in Hellertown, and I mean you have open gym membership.
Mm-hmm.
You do some personal training yourself, and then any other feature that these guys that
we have I do my own training, then I have trainers that work for me also. I also do just started doing nutritional programming, client programming. So I'll set up the full diet plan and workout regimen for you.
And then but I mean, he's a one. It's just it's a one man. It's a one business situation. Here. It's not like some of the other gyms, the corporate stuff too. That is your competition in terms of like membership base. So man, I guess Chris, sorry, going to his question, and then even with like how you handling the situation where it's like you're trying to offer a nice feel good thing in this hometown thing, but then your competition for membership might cost a third of what you are too. So like you got that component too. Where it's like,
so we had that same exact thing happen. I was in business for 5 years, and the gym was there for 20 at that point, between me and the previous owner. And all of a sudden, a corporate gym moved in, and I kind of, I really don't stress out about anything. I wasn't happy about it, but at the same time, I just said, keep doing what you do, keep providing the best customer service you possibly can, and keep moving forward. So now, looking back on it, what it did is exactly what you just referred to with the Netflix guy. It drives you to do what you do better, right? Having a corporate gym open up down the street, it made me take my personal training to another level. It made me refurnish my gym to make it more conducive to people's goals, bring more equipment in, take a step forward. It made me evaluate how I was dealing with situations within the gym, like customer service-wise, and figure out how to make it better. In bodybuilding, take it down to a smaller scale. You mentioned that. You surround yourself with people that will push you. I mentioned before my lifting partner. Whenever we work out together, I get 10 times the workout than I do by myself. I can push myself, but you know what? Oh, you know what? Well, I got to do this next step, but I gotta quick do a piece of paperwork that I forgot about. I gotta get something out in the mail. You know, there's always something to jump out ahead of you, especially when you're working out while you're working. You know, in my personal situation. But it's an absolutely the case that having the good people around you is what's going to make you better.
So I was listening to, it was a guy that was, I learned of him from the Chappelle Show. This comic, Donnell Rollins, was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was Ashley Larry, if anybody was wondering which character he was. But they were just saying, you know, like in stand-up comedy, like everybody gets a bump, you know, so like you guys, comics, start doing stuff together. I guess in theory they are competitors, but you know, you treat everybody good and you take people in and you do shows with these people, and everybody gets a bump when you do that. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan bringing Donnell Rollins on, they're both getting a bump for it because Donnell's fan base is not paying attention to Joe Rogan, and so I don't know. You know, there's enough out there for everybody, I think, and you know, you just treat people good. And I also just saw this too over the weekend. Like the best tip this guy gave, I don't even know what kind of line of work he was in. He's like, just stay in business. Mm-hmm. What's the number one thing about you being successful in business is like stay in business, because competition, you know, people are going to come and go, and as long as you can kind of ride it out and deal with some of that adversity that you deal with day to day, and try to continue, like don't take that same victim mindset you talked about in the bodybuilding stage, like don't do this, oh no, they opened up, they're cheaper, they do this, that, I don't do that. I don't know, you just figure out things that are going to make your service better, and hopefully you could stay in business long enough to retire at 40 and live life.
Exactly.
Fiegel, did we answer your question? You got anything for us, Frank? I did offer. You could ask me 3 questions here, but I threw it at him last second. So let's see what he's got.
So one big question. How'd you start the podcast? Why?
Because I listened to him for like 3 years, and I thought they were pretty cool. I learned probably more than I've ever learned in anything, probably just by listening to people talk. But that one dude, Jocko Willings, like, his preparation for these podcasts, I mean, everything is more for him than it is for everybody else. So it sounds selfish in a sense, but like I've just been doing more homework about things that I've ever done in my life. So just learning a bunch of stuff, trying to learn a little bit about bodybuilding. You know, when I had Wes Morris on here, who we talked about, you know, I had a personal story with my brother, but also, so I had a personal experience there, but then just reading a bunch of stuff, trying to understand different things psychologically about people, and get a nutritionist on. I'm not in the bodybuilding world, but I got respect for it in the way that people train and stuff. So it's like I'm reading books and taking notes and then talking about the books on these things. So, I mean, I want to do it, I guess, number one, to get people on, talk to them in a setting that I kind of control. Yeah. Not like we're out, you know. I don't know. I don't go out, so I'm not meeting people at a restaurant and having to make some small talk. So I'm like, let me control this environment. Yeah. Let's come in here. We could talk about there's a lot of cool people that come in here too. And it's like some of these conversations that me and you might have on a random Wednesday, it's like, why not record it and just share it with people? So there's all that stuff. And mostly just to kind of share information the best I can, and then also just sharpen my brain a little bit too with getting to know people and stuff like that. So I don't know. Okay. So far so good. I'm trying to hit 52 this year. I'm at number 11. So there you go. I'm trying to hammer these things out. We're doing pretty good though. I mean, it took some time to kind of get it sorted out, but you know, Chris has been a big help getting the stuff up online, because I'm a little bit clueless with the technology side of things. But so he's been a big help in that regard. And then the more people I get on, you know, just asking for suggestions, like I might talk to your coach here, Rich Seymour, you know, trying to get other people on that can elaborate on some topics a little bit bigger, and hopefully kind of expand it a little bit and keep going from there. I don't know. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Nice. All right, man. Next big question. What's your one, man? No, I'm just kidding. No, I got one more. What's your plans for the gym? Here? Yeah. What do you? So just we're always, like we were saying before, we're always looking at what are we going to do next? Yeah. How are we going to move forward to take the next step? What do you got? I'm slowly at a spot now where I could not to have this place function totally without me, because I have personal training clients that I'm not going to, you know, pass off to anybody at all. I do some small group stuff. I had an intern that recently is going to be that's pretty much ending very soon. Transition him potentially into covering some stuff for me to free me up so I could do more stuff like this with the podcast, try to get some more stuff online, and just make some more stuff available to people that might not live in the area. But then too also is this summer just offering more camps. So I mean, I coached sports for like 10 years, and I've got speed and agility type camps. So nice. I got 4 definites Yeah, 4 definitely lined up, and I'm going to try to get 2 or 3 more. They're 4-day camps is kind of what I'm doing right now. So going from there, I work with some local sports teams. I mean, right now I'll go to the school and I work with girls lacrosse team in season. So some stuff like that where I could actually leave here now and not have to cancel anything. So that's kind of trying to find some freedom there, I guess, in that sense. And then coaching athletes. I like working with kids too. And long-term plan is to get where I live on our farm, get a little work area there, get a little gym in there, be able to do some personal training. And then, I've said this before, this one coach, Charles Poliquin, wanted the 4-hour work day. So I'm going to try to cut down to something like that where, you got whatever it is, say it's personal training clients, but, you got 4 hours of that. Take that other time to do things you want to do. If you want to go work with a local sports organization, you can go do that. Or if you want to go to the beach, you could go to the beach. I don't know. Just trying to find more freedom.
Nice.
So that's kind of the name of the game, yeah. But, I mean, this place is totally cool, and it's working well. I got 2 other people that help out in here, so things are going decent in that regard. So I'm trying to maybe branch out a little bit and do some work elsewhere and try to get my name out there a little bit more. Plus the podcast hopefully will help with that too. I don't know. So, and meeting people on here, just another networking, I guess, opportunity, and introducing you to people that watch, and then maybe just because you're on, some people that are fans of you might be introduced to me too, and who knows. So just trying to build things that way. So I like that putting stuff online, I think it's important, but I don't know, I still think kind of getting to know people and relationships and stuff like that are important.
Agreed.
So that's why I like to get out there and try to, but it's hard because I can't even, we're talking with Frank about this, you can't even go, you train a kid for 2 years, you can't go watch their softball game or their lacrosse game because you're in here training people.
Right.
So I want to kind of get to a point where I can go enjoy some of that stuff too. So yeah, man. Cool.
All right, done.
All good. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
See you, everybody. Peace. Have a good day. All right, guys. Kevin just left the building, man. A couple minutes here. That was an interesting talk. I'm glad we finally got to get him on and got some interesting stuff there, man. What a crazy schedule that man lives, especially with his training and how hard he works. I mean, that was no kidding aside, man. When we were in high school, he outworked pretty much all of us all the time. I mean, he went from kind of scrawny to brawny, like we said earlier. So, I mean, I'm not surprised at all on what he's doing and the success he's having now. We got, this podcast is available in a few spots. We got it on YouTube. All right, if you want to take a look at our faces as we talk to you, you can go to YouTube. If you don't want to look at us, you go to Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. We also have a Patreon page, which is basically, as the year progresses here, we're slowly getting more and more content out there. The goal of this page is to kind of all the stuff that we end up doing, we're going to put it on Patreon. And we're also going to start offering some stuff here, maybe some small sponsorships, also some T-shirts, things of that nature. At the end of the day, any kind of money that we make through Patreon is just going to lead to more, more opportunities for different projects, different things of that nature, and also just kind of support everything that we're doing. So that page is out there too. It's patreon.com. Just search Chris Fluck. It's there. And be on the lookout. We got some more stuff coming on. Thanks again, guys, for listening to everything here today. Hope you had a wonderful week. Peace, everybody.